Follow-up on Mission 300, AFDB President talks of Africa's renewable energy potentials.
And so private sector should be doing more, carrying more of those as opportunities of investment rather than fiscal burdens for the government.
My name is Nasa Kingu. Thank you very much for joining us. Just a reminder, you can also follow us live via our YouTube channel, TBC Online, and also get all the latest news through our Instagram, Facebook, and X pages at TBC Online. The chairman of the Southern African Development Community, SADC, President Emmerson Mnangagwa of Zimbabwe, says that the community is doing all they can to restore peace, security, and stability in the Democratic Republic of Congo, DRC. Speaking at an extraordinary summit convened in Harare to discuss situation in DRC, Mnangagwa commends President Samia Suluhu Hassan and other member states of SADC who took the initiative to act on the crisis.
We deliberate on our firm and united response. Let us not overlook the humanitarian crisis stemming from the prevailing armed conflict in eastern DRC. The plight of the millions of internally displaced populations cannot and should not be ignored. SADC appreciates the support rendered by international cooperating partners in response to the critical needs of the displaced populations.
On the other hand, the Executive Secretary of SADC, Elias Magosi, says after closed-door session, the meeting that discusses the deteriorating security situation in eastern DRC will come out with communique on the way forward. The President of Tanzania and the Chairperson of the SADC organ Troika on Politics, Defense and Security Cooperation, Samia Suluhu Hassan, is in Harare, Zimbabwe, to attend the extraordinary summit of SADC heads of state and government. The meeting has mainly been convened to rescue situation in DRC, where security situation is deteriorating. To discuss more on the issue, we are joined by Patronus Niagira, a political analyst. Niagira, welcome to TBC News. Let's start with how have we got to be here today?
Actually, it is I can say it is a series of events and things that has been led by not handling the peace talks which has been going on. And it has a case of a period of time from 2009 up to date. There are personal agreements which were made by President Tshisekedi himself toward the M23, but also there are some other agreements which were made by the East African community under the Nairobi process, but also under the Rwanda process or the Rwanda question, which was done by President Lorenzo under the African Union. There is again another agreement made by the international, we call it International Conference of the Great Lake Region countries on the very same issue on M23. But the Kinshasa has not been in place to handle what has been going on. So that's where we are. The M23 is a broken promise, the promise which were not fulfilled by the government of the Congo. So that's where we are. It's all about the promise.
The ongoing summit in Harare, Zimbabwe, what difference do you think it's going to make?
I think they must come up with the resolution which looks at bringing all the parties on table right now. Because if they come with a solution of going to fight against the M23, it will be more disastrous. Up to now, you know, SADC has lost almost 17 with peacekeepers. And as a result of that, some even soldiers from the Congo government, the military itself, they has been abducted, and the others have joined the M23. They are under custody. So you can see it is, I think the dialogue is the best, and they needed to have a joint force actually. SADC together team up with the East African community, team up with the African Union, and they have a strong team that can be able to bring multidimensional and multifaceted kind of issues which has been agreed and disagreed and not implemented. And so therefore, they bring these people on table. You can see, for example, when the East African community called the meeting, President Tshisekedi never attended. But today he's in Zimbabwe under SADC. So you can tell that the problem here, they are trying to avoid Rwanda. And if you're avoiding Rwanda, you are bringing a big mess because Rwanda has a serious interest in the Congo question.
Now, I know the whole crisis is happening in the eastern part of DRC. What kind of impact the situation can have or might have to the eastern part of Africa, but also the southern part, to other countries?
Of course, one is the economic issue, of which has been seriously damaged. For example, you know the Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo is the gateway, business gateway between DRC, Rwanda, Uganda, and the route to many other countries. And you know DRC is endowed that a region with the gold, together with the coltan, castrite, and many other, and timber. And so therefore, the business in that area is seriously down. And if it is down, it means we are going to have, one, a lot of refugees around. You know, Tanzania will be affected by having refugees, and it will need a lot of economic muscles to take up. Uganda, the same thing, Rwanda, the same thing, but also the problem may escalate to many other countries simply because, you know, there has been infiltration of what we call the terrorist group within the region, and they may take at this time to rearm and reshape and start causing what we may see, bringing a lot of problems.
I think most of people would agree the African continent, it's high time right now to sit down and discuss issues to do with regional and economic integration, but now we're discussing about how to end wars. What lesson do you think other African countries can draw from this particular case?
You know, the problem of the Congo is all about leadership, lack of proper leadership. The leadership has failed to create a stable state which can be able to run its economy, to run its politics properly, and actually bring about the rule of law in the country, the democratization process. You can see, for example, failing actually to manage the diversity in Congo concerning the Hutu, which has been the circumstance of the Berlin Conference being there, to manage the resources. It has got into this. So the first is to manage the diversities within the country itself, and this is what we may see other nations needed to learn. Actually, for example, if they learn from Tanzania, the big country also after Congo, in the East African region, is the big country. It has 126 tribes, but it has tried it to its best, the leadership, to maintain that and to be able to manage the diversity. Now, if they don't, that's one of the things they have to learn. That's number one. Number two, inclusive governance. You need to include all the parties in the leadership of the country and be able to manage the structure, to manage the style of your government, and introduce at least a fair participatory system that can help you have equal way of governance in the country. But another thing is the resource allocation. Having a resource allocation kind of a system that is equal to all the parties within the country or within the nation brings harmony and makes a country governable. Now, when you look at Congo, it is still disintegrated. And the other thing, which is on security and defense, is the military. You know, Congo, it has no national military, which is strong to be able to curb all these kind of emergencies and all this kind of riot and rifle which happen around. So these are the things they need. You have to create a strong army which bears a national flag, which bears a national patriotic zeal, to be able to defend to protect the territory, but also to defend the resources of the country and to manage the structure of the government within the country. So these are the things they can learn.
Doing everything the leadership can to make sure that the people are actually united. Thank you very much, Mr. Niyigire, for your insight on what's going on in DRC, but also what's going on in Harare, Zimbabwe right now, as heads of state and government are meeting to see the way forward to rescue situation in the eastern part of DRC. Thank you very much for being with us tonight.
You're welcome.
Thank you. The just-ended Africa Energy Summit emphasized the need for the private sector to invest in energy services and for the governments to create a conducive environment for the investment to happen. In an interview that I had with the president of the African Development Bank, Dr. Akiwumi Adesina, after the summit, the FDB president explained deeper what it will take for the collaboration to happen and how can Africa enhance energy access to electricity cheaper through its massive renewable energy resources.
Well, first and foremost is that, the size of the compact here, energy compact here, is going to require about $15 billion worth of investment. Now, roughly about $3 to $4 billion of that will come from private sector. And I actually think a lot more can come. More than that can, in my view, come from the private sector. And why? Because I always see electricity as a commodity, right, that is traded, right? And so private sector should be doing more, carrying more of those as opportunities of investments rather than fiscal burdens on the government. And so, which means that, for example, you want to look at a transmission line. Well, think through transmission line. I would prefer to have independent companies that are actually running transmission lines. And we have invested. I chair the board of Africa 50, which is a private equity fund that we set up to do infrastructure in Africa. And we're supporting Kenya to have the first independently managed private sector transmission line for Kenya. We can do that also here. The other part, which I think is going to be important, is the cost-reflective tariff. In other words, the tariff must be so. If I'm investing in something, your tariff structure has to be transparent. It has to be flexible. It has to be adjustable to reflect the cost. Because as macroeconomic conditions change and the cost of capital changes, those that have made upfront commitments have to be able to adjust. And if you don't have that, that becomes a problem, not just here, but that's just something all across Africa.
Great. Let's talk about renewable energy. Africa, everybody knows, Africa is well endowed with a variety of renewable energy sources. We're talking about solar energy, geothermal, organic materials, but we have not fully tapped into what all these sources actually can produce. How African Development Bank is set to help African countries, especially some of the small producers, local small producers, to contribute to this Dar es Salaam Energy Declaration so that it becomes a success.
Yeah, God loves Africa. Many ways. We have the highest level of solar irradiation in the world. The potential we have is about 11 terawatts. That is the highest in the world. But we are powering our economy with only 1% of that. And so I always tell my friends and even leaders that I hope that on the day of judgment, God doesn't really deal with us because I gave you all this power and you kept praying for electricity when in fact I already gave you the electricity. Just turn it into power for yourself. No, that is why for us at African Development Bank, we are focused on how to help more with renewables. Under the Mission 300, average across all the countries for renewable energy is 42%. We want to raise that to 68 to 70%, relying on exactly what you said, using the solar, using the hydro, using the geothermal, using the wind, and of course, don't forget, gas. Gas is critical. Every developed country uses gas and nuclear. So why should Africa be different? You need power to power your industries. You need to make sure that you also deal with the issue of variability that arises from renewable energy.
Don't miss TBC News as my conversation will continue with the AFDB President, Dr. Akiwumi Adesina, on Africa's energy challenges and way forward. And now let's join Antonia Kiveria as she explores the Dar es Salaam Energy Declaration, which is the final decision reached by African leaders at the Energy Summit earlier this week. It is a permanent memory that will be used as a compass and a map to achieve goals of turning on electricity to 300 million Africans.
15 issues are listed in the Dar es Salaam Declaration. Among them are ensuring availability of reliable electricity and clean cooking energy, increasing the distribution of reliable energy in the hybrid energy spectrum, and increasing the influence of capital collection from the private sector. Speaking to TBC News, the Executive Director of Pan-African Climate Justice Alliance, Dr. Mthika Mwenda, says the declaration will take Africa to a new era and it is a one of a kind.
The only problem is that, and the fear which we have as the civil society, is that we have seen so many initiatives with such promise and with such potential, but they have failed. So we fear, and this should be noted, that it may join the catalogue of other initiatives of such nature which have come and gone and left Africa without energy, just as it has been.
On his part, founder and CEO of Zola Electric, Billy Lanen, says the Mission 300 initiative is a transformative opportunity to bridge the energy gap in Africa.
To energize 300 million people within sub-Saharan Africa by the year 2030. And I want to define what that means. A lot of people think that defining energy access for an individual is within their home. I don't believe that. I believe that energy access, real energy access, comes from reliable, affordable energy to the home and also to every service provider of the individual, from schools to hospitals to businesses. It's holistic energy access.
Furthermore, Off-Grid Electric Director East Africa, Johnson Kiwango, says Zola's solutions are uniquely positioned to address the challenges of energy access in Africa, including unreliable grid infrastructure and the need for scalable, cost-effective solutions.
What we believe will be the second largest energy service after TANESCO in the country at the moment right now. We have been able to start a model which is now replicated all across the markets in Africa, where the pioneers are on this model and basically exporting the model which has been built out in Tanzania to take it all across Africa.
The Dar es Salaam Declaration will also bear the burden of renovating, expanding energy production, ensuring the distribution and transformation of electricity infrastructure network is co-effective and competitive so that everyone can be reached, served, and lead a life with energy that does not have a large financial burden. Reporting from Dar es Salaam, Antonia Kivaria, TBC News.
Remaining in Dar es Salaam, the ambassador of European Union to Tanzania, Christine Grau, calls on young people in Tanzania to share their voices, ideas, and proposals with the European Union in diverse sectors and issues, insisting that their ideas are the solutions that can transform Tanzania. Speaking at the European Union Youth Debate Contest in Dar es Salaam, organized in order to encourage young people to raise their voices and take action for change, Ambassador Grau emphasized that European Union is committed to support young people and that their involvement in current affairs is essential not only to the development of Tanzania, but also for the prosperity of the entire region.
As you know, our intention is we look at this as a pilot project, and what I have seen today and what I have heard from how it has passed, I think we have a very, very clear case. Our wish is much stronger now to do this, to repeat this kind of debate. Maybe in other places, maybe in Dar es Salaam again, but certainly to look at this as a pilot project. And the quality and the commitment, as I said, we saw today is outstanding. So thank you so much for this positive result. If you have any proposals for other subjects to discuss, we are happy to take them. The member of the youth sounding board here, but there's also, of course, the team here. They are very happy to take your suggestions also online. Now.
On the other hand, some of the participants of the debate expressed how crucial youth engagement is in shaping the future of Tanzania, and they further urged the European Union to expand the reach of such initiatives to other parts of the nation.
Because we all know that the youth are the generation of tomorrow. Everything that's depending on the future depends on us. And so it's very important for all youths to be part of these discussions, parts of these debates, let's say, that will encourage them and enable them to really see that what they bring to the table is important and will affect their future. These initiatives of debate competition are very, very important. I have realized that because these kind of debates are most conducted in Dar es Salaam. They have not moved far apart in regions out of Dar es Salaam like Mbeya, Mwanza, and whatever. So these debates are very, very competitive and are very, very important to build the minds of a young generation, especially the used to understand. I personally think what should be done more is making sure that these opportunities go outside. Most of the opportunities often happen in Dar es Salaam, and most of the communities in Morogoro, let's say, in Arusha. So we really need to engage more youth in different places by encouraging these opportunities being held in such particular positions. And however, we should have a wide range of like welcoming these people from different places so that they see what it really means to be in this competition.
Ministry of Communication and Information Technology met today with health stakeholders to discuss the improvement and implementation of the digital health wallet, a system designed to synchronize patients' medical history and progress. Caroline Malewo was there and has prepared the following report.
As the government of Tanzania continues to implement its 10-year digital economy strategy, health sector stakeholders meet in Dar es Salaam to discuss best ways to implement the digital health wallet, which will facilitate access to patient information whenever they visit any hospital in the country.
People can access their information on health through their mobile platform, computers, and so forth. This wallet also helps the doctors in hospitals as well in service delivery, because as you understand, one of the aim of our digital economy is to ensure we ease the service delivery to the citizens.
On the other hand, Dr. Lamek Mtilia, the Director General of Personal Information Protection Commission, says that the security of patients' personal information have been prioritized in this system.
Very important point at this juncture is to ensure that privacy is well considered in such a way that we are sure that this information is exchanged within a secured environment, but also considering the privacy as well as the first priority toward it.
This system is a liberator of both public and private institutions in providing health services in the country.
And this is where we go and say, now we could have a single patient with a single record, that the records of the clients should not exist in silos. When you go to a village like Bisuma and you find Bisuma Health Center, when you're getting treated there, when you go to Dar es Salaam, to Mbagala, we could be capable of accessing your medical history.
On the other hand, sponsors of the digital health wallet say that they have chosen Tanzania as it has strong digital infrastructures.
Estonian companies, as I said, have been participating in Tanzania's digital journey for quite some time. So we have contacts, we have quite a good understanding of what is the systems, what are the ambitions, what are the documents, strategies in place. So we can say that we already know what Tanzania has been achieving, so we have quite a good understanding of the existing architecture and digital infrastructure, on the one hand.
And especially when you work on e-governance and on the services that are needed by the citizens, then you need to have this group of stakeholders discussing how the digital transformation needs to be shaped. And this is what we try to do, and these collaborations, like we can see it here today, is crucial to our work.
Thanks to technological advancements, managing your health and accessing crucial information is just a tap away. Caroline Malewo, TBC News.
Thank you very much, Caroline Malewo, for that report. The Mwanza Court, whose construction has been completed, has been inaugurated by Judge Salma Magimbi from the High Court Land Division as part of the Law Week celebrations for the year 2025 in Dar es Salaam. Here are more details with Kanki Mwaigomole.
The Court of Tanzania has had a procedure to issue a theme every year that fulfills the goals of Tanzanians to ensure that it makes a significant contribution to ensuring that the national development vision is achieved without any hindrance from the court. Escorted by the theme, Tanzania of 2050, position of institution, governing rights, claims and access, the main goals of the national development vision, today's event clearly states that the Tanzanian court is part of an important axis that implements the national development vision in the country.
The goal is to build courts, at least in every ward. This building is practical evidence of Tanzanian court collaboration with the government by moving judicial services to the people and by continuing to use information and communication technology.
We have received a total of 65 cases. All of them are criminal cases, where 33 cases have already been decided and a sentence has been issued, and the remaining 32 cases are in the judgment stage. This court is going to serve 4 wards: Wazo, Bunju, Mabwepande, and Beziju. I now urge citizens in all those areas that they can now get judicial services near where they live.
The construction of the court is the implementation of the court's vision and strategic plan, implemented through improvements to the court's infrastructure. Reporting from Dar es Salaam, Kanki Mwaigomole, TBC.
Now it's time to get to know all the latest from in international news. And here is international news as compiled and read by Lua Muhammad.
France has handed over its last military base in Chad, ending decades of defense cooperation. Chad is one of the last West African states with large French military presence. French troops have been forced out of Mali, Burkina Faso and Niger in recent years. In November last year, President Mahamat Idriss Deby asked the French to leave by the end of January. The former colonial power asked for an extension, but the government rejected. The departure of French troops in Chad follows right the sentiments against the former colonial power, but it is accelerated by the last year attack in the army base that killed 40 Chadian soldiers. The Ministry of Health in Uganda says it has confirmed an outbreak of the Ebola virus in the capital Kampala and the death of a nurse. The victim, who died on Wednesday at a Kampala hospital, was a 32-year-old man. The health ministry said at least 44 people, including 30 health workers who came into contact with the nurse, are being traced in an effort to contain the potential spread of the highly contagious virus. It added that a vaccination drive for all contacts of the deceased will begin immediately. It is Uganda's first confirmed Ebola fatality since 2023. And Syria's new President Ahmed al-Sharaa has made his first address to the nation. It comes a day after he abolished the constitution and dissolved the parliament. Sharaa will now form a temporary legislative council, which he says will be inclusive. He says the transition phase is part of political process that will require the commitment of all the Syrian people inside and outside the country to build their future with dignity and freedom without any marginalization.
That's international news. Let's take a look at the sports news. Young Africans head coach Sid Ramovic says they are well prepared to outclass Kagera Sugar in the Tanzania Premier League encounter and take all 3 points to keep their title race alive. Coach Ramovic believes that the game will be tough, but his players are mentally and physically ready to face challenges from their opponent, while Kagera Sugar coach Melis Meadow says they are ready to outplay Young Africans.
We need to win the league. We need to win the cup. That's the pressure that we have to be in a fantastic club like where we are, and we have to face the challenges. this is what we will do. And but again,
it's not a very large pitch. It's not a very wide pitch. We're going to try to do our level best just to arrange our lines, not to concede first.
Young Africans welcomed the Kagera Sugar at KMC Complex in Dar es Salaam on Saturday, and a win will keep pressure to the league leader Simba Sports Club, who will take Tabora United on Sunday at Ali Hassan Mwinyi Stadium in Tabora. Simba Sports Club is at the top of the league with 40 points, and Young Africans in second with 39 points. The former Taifa Stars head coach Charles Boniface Ukwasa calls on football fans in the country to come out in numbers to cheer on the teams that will be playing in the CHAN and AFCON competition to be hosted in Tanzania. Coach Mkwasa believes that a large number of fans coming to the stadiums to cheer on the teams which will be playing will convince the Confederation African Football CAF to continue giving Tanzania the opportunity to organize major competitions and thus keep up various economic opportunities in the country.
So I call upon soccer fans that they should not select teams that they will go and cheer in stadium, but rather they should go and cheer for teams that will be playing in a day. We know that some of the teams will come with their fans, but they should go and watch those teams that will be playing to show that fans, they love football and not the team. We understand that when Simba and Young Africans they are playing is the moment when fans went to the stadium. And people believe that Tanzania, they love football. But when it comes to national team, people they used to watch games at their home places. In this competition, I ask fans to come up in numbers to cheer for the teams that will be playing in the stadium instead of staying at home and watching through television channels.
Tanzania, in collaboration with Uganda and Kenya, are jointly organizing the CHAN Championship, which will be held in August this year, and AFCON in 2027. And that marks the end of the news bulletin for tonight. Don't miss our next bulletin in Kiswahili at 11 p.m. On behalf of the whole team, I am Mwanza Court. We wish you a good night.
Kuna usemi unaosema mafanikio hayajifichi wala hayahitaji kuyatafuta kwa darubini. Leo hii tunapozungumzia kuhusu mafanikio ya sekta ya elimu nchini, usemi huu unapata maana kamili. Katika kipindi cha uongozi wa serikali ya awamu ya 6 inaongozwa na Mheshimiwa Daktari Samia Suluhu Hassan, sekta ya elimu imepiga hatua kubwa katika kuongeza fursa za elimu na mafunzo katika mfumo rasmi na nje ya